Matt Wilton. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another McGuire webinar. We've got 5 graduates of the programme speaking this evening. So what we're going to be doing is showing their video of what they were like before they joined the programme. This is a video that's filmed at the start of every first course. And then they're going to be talking a bit about their experiences before, during, and after joining the programme. If you've got any questions, please do feel free to put them in the comments bar and we'll answer them at the end. So the first graduate I'm going to bring on is Richard Hopkins Smith. I'm going to play his video and then I'll get him on.
Hiya. Can you start with your name, please?
Yes, it's Richard Hopkins Smith.
Good to meet you, Richard.
Hiya.
Hiya. And your address?
Oh, it's 19 Har Road, Haverhill.
Richard Hopkins Smith speaking. Hi everyone. That was me back in 2015, so almost 10 years ago. And as you can see, my speech was very visible with my speech. And funny enough, that was me on a good day. Sometimes it was to the point where I couldn't really say anything at all. So coming onto the course, I was a bit nervous. To be honest, I thought, is it going to work? I tried all sorts of speech therapists over the years, hypnotherapy, everything really. And even the speech therapist once said it's the worst stutter she's ever seen. That made me felt rather good. But coming onto the course, I thought this is something I need to try. And I always remember the instructor on the Wednesday, which is the start of the course. She said that there's a certain way that you need to do things and follow every direction that they give. And if you follow that, you too can sound like me, as in the instructor was saying that. And she sounded absolutely amazing. And I thought, wow. So if I follow this process, I can sound just like you. And it wasn't the easiest of courses. I found it quite hard, as battling a stutter isn't the easiest of things, but I worked really hard at it and got control of my speech, which was very emotional on the Sunday, as it was back then. It's Saturday now, but on the Sunday, I remember getting up in front of my family, saying my wedding speech to my wife that I never did that before at our wedding. I couldn't actually say my wedding speech. So getting up after the course and actually being able to say that with everyone was quite amazing. But then the thing is you had this technique, you got the control, and then you have to take that home and practice that technique. So it's similar to, like, I like it to Slimming World or Weight Watchers, where they teach a particular technique on how to lose weight, it's great there, but when you go home, if you eat all the pies, you're going to put weight on, aren't you? And it's a similar here, where you learn the technique and go home, and then you have to use that technique all the time at home. And I had my coach that I called every day and really worked hard at it. And 10 years later, I'm able to sound like the way I am, which is quite amazing. So I'm going to hand you back over to Matt, because he said 5 minutes and we're a little bit over 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Richard. I shall say
That's
goodbye
okay.
to you, and I'm now going to show you another video. Here we go.
Can you tell me your full name, please?
Lucy. Horness.
It's lovely to meet you. How old are you?
I'm NT3.
Okay, let's bring on Lucy.
Lucy Horness speaking. Thank you, Matt. So, my first course was in February 2024, so this year, and as you saw, it was extremely obvious my stammer. I couldn't answer the phone at all. I would rely heavily on my family or my friends. I had a very select friend group and almost hid away from the world. When I joined McGuire, it was almost a last resort. I went through NHS therapies and alternative therapies, and I just never found anything that clicked for me. So I saw McGuire and I was like, hey, let's try it. And exactly what Richard said, they tell you to trust them, the instructors and the coaches and grads, they all say trust us. It's a marathon, it's not a quick finish. And I trusted the process and I work really hard at it. I'm always using the technique and really trying and just working hard. And I can now go on the radio, I can order a coffee at the drive-through, which a year ago I would have looked at you and laughed. So thank you so much, and I will pass over back to Matt. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy, and great to have you on, being so new to the programme. So brilliant stuff. Okay, now the next video that I've got to show you. Here we go.
Can you tell us your full name, please?
John Edward James McGann.
And what village and town do you live in, John?
I live in Southfield, Bristol.
How long have you lived there for?
About 18 months.
And John, would you like to make a phone call to a hotel?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Would you like to make a phone call to a hotel and inquire about a booking?
Sure.
So I'll give you a number. I'd like to call this number and ask how much a room would be next Saturday or this Saturday just for one night. And then you can tell them you'll call them back after you've decided.
Okay.
So we've got 07.
Sorry.
9.
Sorry, give me one sec. I switched my phone off so I could concentrate. Sorry, I didn't realize we were going to be making a phone call.
That's all right.
John McGowan speaking. My first course was July 2022. And before my first course, I was, believe it or not, relatively covert. I would use lots of tricks and avoidance to conceal my stammer. When COVID happened, I wasn't practicing my speech. Therefore, I reached depths of blocking that I had never reached before. And my wife had just had our firstborn. Therefore, I knew I had to do something about my speech. I was 35 when I did my first course. And usual tricks would be, one of my fear situations was receiving phone calls and saying my surname, McGann. So I would use lots of tricks and laugh it off if anyone thought it was funny. When I did my first course, it was online. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really liberating and emotional experience because I was finally free of a lot of the guilt that and shame that I had with having a stammer. It was hard work, but afterwards, I felt this sense of freedom that I'd never had before. Since then, I've become a coach on the program. I attend a weekly drama course at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, which is something I would have never had done before my first course. It is hard work. I've attended about 5 courses so far, a few improvement days in Bristol, London, Birmingham. There are times when I have been complacent, but I know that McGuire has the support network that I never had before my first course. I didn't even know anyone who stammered before my first course. After my first course, I could phone someone in India, Ireland, someone in Germany, for example. And I've made lifelong friends with a number of different people. And I'm just, sometimes I wish I had started the program sooner. John McGann.
Matt Woolton. Thank you, John. That's amazing. Thank you for coming on tonight. Okay. Now the next one. Here we go.
Hi there. Could we have your name, please? Yeah. Yes, sure, yeah. My name is Scott, with them 2 T's. And your surname? My surname is Ingram. Can we have your full address, please?
Scott Ingram, Dundee, October 2012 was my first course. As you see in my first day video, my stammer was very obvious and overt, which meant that I couldn't hide my stammer at all. Before joining the McGuire Programme, I tried speech therapy to help me with my stammer, but that didn't really work too well for me. Then I discovered the McGuire Programme through the BBC Three documentary Stop My Stutter, which featured singer Gareth Gates in it. Then I joined the McGuire Programme in October 2012, which was 12 years ago. I found the McGuire Programme and the course itself really intense, but life-changing for me because it gave me the tools, the weapons, the technique, and techniques to help me control my stammer and speak in control of my stammer. I've attended 17 McGuire Programme courses since my first one 12 years ago. Nowadays, I can order anything I want for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and say what I want to say when I want to say these words and sounds. Ever since joining the McGuire Programme, I've joined a speakers club at my work, Speakeasy, where I work on my public speaking skills. I've spoken on a podcast, radio, news bulletin on TV, and I've also done a newspaper article, which has all been really good for me and for the McGuire Programme. Thank you for listening. Scott Ingram.
Thank you, Scott. Really great to show you've persevered through the years and in a much better, much more confident place now. So thank you. Okay, last one tonight then. So here we go.
Start with your name, please.
Yeah, my name's John Hubard.
Could you tell us your address, please?
Yeah, it's 35. 35 minutes.
What's your email address?
Jonathan. I get that one.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a service manager.
Sleep actually wasn't too bad last night.
Yeah.
I say about 5 hours-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the longest time, John struggled to understand why he just couldn't get the rest he needed, putting it down to other issues like anxiety.
I've had a stammer all my life. So at first I just assumed, because I was worried about speaking to people the next day, that's what was keeping me awake and that's what was waking me up. I just made that link, but actually it was totally unrelated.
John Hubbard, thank you, Matt. I wanted to show those two specific clips for a couple of reasons. First of all, my first day video back in 2018, I think, shows the physical side of my stammer really well. How I used to have to repeat sentences to get through blocks, how I'd speak very quietly and have a few of these pauses. But generally speaking, to the outside world, it didn't look too severe. But what it doesn't show is the fear, the anxiety and the shame around having a stammer, that nervousness about what happens if you have a block during a conversation or when you're saying your name. I was what we call a covert. I know John's mentioned that, and you do anything you possibly can to hide the fact that you have a stammer. I remember very specifically exactly the day that I decided to try and hide my stammer. I was reading out loud in school. I was having challenges. The teacher asked me what was wrong with me, and all the kids laughed. And at that point, I thought, I can't go through this. So I didn't read out in class anymore. I didn't do any presentations at university. When I started work, I would literally hide under the desk whenever I wanted to make a call because of this fear of being found out as someone who stammers. And I tried so many different speech therapies, the same as Scott and Lucy, and I'm sure we all have. I tried NHS, private, CBT, clinical trials even. None of those worked for me because it didn't deal with that emotional baggage that came with having a stammer. Then I found the McGuire Programme, and almost a kind of last-ditch attempt to try and manage and control this big secret that I was holding. And it soon became very clear that there's a holistic approach on the programme. You deal with both the physical and the psychological side of things. And that for me was the single biggest change that I could make. I joined at 38 years old. I've missed so many opportunities at work because I didn't put myself forward. But now, because of the programme and being able to not only accept the fact that I have a stammer, but to be able to talk about it with people, to be able to not feel this extra weight of this secret, I say, that I've been carrying around with me. Fast forward to earlier this year, and I was asked to take part in a national TV campaign for a charity that I support. And if you'd have asked me before the McGuire Programme, absolutely no way. But to have that opportunity and to be comfortable enough to talk about the fact that I have a stammer on national TV, when people are going to be watching it that I know, and it's not this embarrassing secret. Actually, I wear glasses, I have a stammer. It's just part of me. And that to me was the single biggest thing that the programme has been able to do for me. It's been life-changing. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, John. A great ending. So that's it really for tonight. That's you've seen a mixture of people with covert and overt stammers, and yes, this program can really help you, can help me, can help those other 5 people control our speech. But it's more than that. It's about being able to be comfortable having a stammer. And I dreaded having to speak before I joined the program. And being able to grow as a person and gain confidence, not just in speaking, but in general, it really does help. And those small things that people that stammer find so hard, like going in and ordering a drink or phoning up and sorting out your car for an MOT, whatever it might be, those things that we used to dread are things that we can now do now because we feel comfortable having a stammer. And I think that's a really, really huge change. So thank you to all 5 who attended tonight, and I'm sure we'll be back with another webinar at some point soon. Have a good evening. Bye for now.